Otherwise, they're not going to give us much. So, please. All right, our next speaker is Brett Goldstein. Please.
Thank you. This journey began with an email 8 years ago. Professor Bejan, thank you for your profound generosity in inviting me to speak today, and even more for answering that first message. It's an honor to be here in this space with each of you, presenting the chaotic planet signal constraint hypothesis for the first time. What I bring today is a theoretical framework, not tested yet, but testable with clear falsifiers grounded in published data and placed inside Constructal law. Your feedback shapes what comes next. That explains why I'm here. But why am I speaking to you through a jaw with teeth, advancing the slides with a claw-like hand, and reading my notes with two forward-facing eyes? Why do I push air to signal my thoughts, and you turn them into meaning? Why do I care what's on your minds, especially the Q&A? And the biggest question, what's for lunch? If Earth were a calm, stable, resource-rich planet, lunch might be the electromagnetic waves from our star. No need for supermarkets or restrooms. But we evolved on a chaotic planet. The same law that governs heat and fluid flow, Constructal law, governs life and mind under chaos. To understand design and nature, and if the Constructal law is truly universal, then we need a universal background for comparison. I introduced the Chaos Index, which quantifies a planet's environmental variability, orbital, tidal, volcanic, and climate forcing, each weighted by ecological impact. Chaos isn't noise. It's the constructal driver that forces systems to evolve better access to flow. Where entropy measures internal disorder, the Chaos Index measures external variance, the unpredictability of a planet's environment. Just as every person's genome is unique, every planet carries its own signature of flux shaped by its formation history. Life evolves to minimize surprise within that variance, not just entropy itself, to avoid congestion at the scale of the individual who moves in ways that offer easier access to a better life. When those fluctuations grow large and multimodal, the Chaos Index rises, driving selection for prediction, cooperation, and energy optimization, the same flow conditions that foster consciousness. The Chaos Index defines a planet's total environmental unpredictability, its constructal pressure for mind. On the left is every known potentially habitable world plotted by its environmental Chaos Index. This. On the left, sits Earth at the red line 3. Two planets cross that threshold, GJ832c with a Venus-like atmosphere, and HD 20794d, about 6 Earth masses, both highly eccentric, with extreme temperature swings. That chaos isn't random, it's quantifiable. And for reference purposes, those two plots to the upper right are Earth during life's formative years, the Protozoic Aeon, and when it counted most for us, after the dinosaurs were wiped out. In contrast, TOI 700b at the Chaos Index of 1.7 represents near perfect stability, and it may be the closest known to an analog of the class of planet I call eudaimonia. Which brings us to Earth, a very different story. Why does one chaotic planet branch into minds? Please join me on a thought experiment. Imagine a planet orbiting a calm, long-lived K-type star. A planet in the habitable zone with liquid water, organic molecules, and a magnetic field to keep everything alive. But the planet has no tectonics, no axial wobble, no tides, no seasons, and likely no moon. No chaos drivers. It is stable, predictable, peaceful, and as I mentioned, I call this class of planet eudaimonia. And there may be 2 million like it in our galaxy alone. On such worlds, conditions remain steady, nutrient-rich, but largely unchanging. In other words, low chaos, and without extreme environmental variance, adaptive complexity, might emerge differently. As I hope you will see in the coming slides, planetary variance drives flow, and when three functions align within information processors, prediction, reduce surprise, sharing, link signals, and persistence, outlast the moment, chaos is internalized. And when that occurs, a stable self emerges. I call this the consciousness triad. Qualia is subjective flow of the triad under chaos. And what I hope to show you today is that consciousness is a constructal solution to a chaotic planet, a flow optimization strategy under extreme variance. Each conversation about mind should now start with which planet are we talking about. So if that's true, then we should be able to see these three functions of the triad of prediction, sharing, and persistence emerge, scale, and fail in predictable ways across life. We mastered chaos, and now we manufacture it. But how? For that, we must go back to the very beginning. I always want to say this. In the beginning, a cosmic collision. Theia slammed into Earth, probably making Earth habitable, but more importantly, creating a constructal trigger. The impact unleashing a cascade of variants, axial tilt, extreme tides, tectonic volcanisms, and the moon, injecting instability into Earth's systems. A high chaos environment with unpredictable energy and resources per the constructal law. That chaos, the fluctuating resistance in the environment, created a flow problem, fluctuating energy and resource paths that demanded continuous reorganization. And so from the very beginning, life became a system of solving flow, a planetary strategy for converting chaos into design. In Earth's high chaos environment, the first flow problem wasn't solved by animals or plants, it was solved by protocells. Competing in turbulent chemistry, they face a constructal choice: sense or consume. Abiotic pressures enabled primitive signaling, but predation, cells eating neighbors, ignited the first true optimization of flow. Workers that can produce work. As Nobel Prize winner Jack Shostak from the Harvard Medical School explains it,
Primitive cell would rapidly take over the population because it has such a strong selective advantage. But that would lead to an evolutionary arms race, because now, in order to grow by eating your neighbors, you have to make more phospholipid.
That act of consumption launched the evolutionary arms race. Predatory success measured by resources taken minus effort cost, setting off Darwin's game. This was the first constructal solution. Chemical flow became ecological flow, metabolic engines, the origin of selective design that eventually scales to engineering and consciousness. As Earth's chaos intensified during the Great Oxidation Event, the planet entered extreme climate swings, even snowball Earth. Microbes under this rising variance began coordinating through bioelectric signaling, optimizing survival as flow networks. Princeton's Professor Bonnie Bassler, the discoverer of quorum sensing, explains it this way.
Expression, which is really changes in behaviors on a population-wide scale. And so now we have a fancy name for this. We call it quorum sensing. The bacteria vote with these little chemical votes. They count the vote, and then everyone responds to the vote. And what I hope you'll think by the end of this seminar is that this had to be one of the first steps in the development of multicellular organ.
Me too, Professor Bassler. This chemical vote in quorum sensing was the first distributed information system. Microbes predicting, sharing, and acting together. These early coordination loops evolved into sensing gradients and motion, turning chemistry into bilateral design, flow following chaos. Prediction, sensing gradients, sharing, quorum signaling, and goal persistence, moving towards resources, the first engineer. Under high chaos sensing became survival, the first blueprint for mind. From microbial cooperation to animal motion, every jump in complexity reflects one thing: more chaos converted into more organized flow. After the boring billion, the supercontinent Rodinia breaks up due to tectonic uplift. Massive phosphorus weathering creates unpredictable nutrient pulses, another high chaos event. The Cambrian explosion wasn't just diversification, it was a computational leap. Speaking of computational, here's Stephen Wolfram recently discussing the concept.
Consciousness. How did that even come to be? And I kind of realized that probably when animals first existed in sort of the history of life on Earth, that's when we started needing brains. if you're a thing that doesn't have to move around, the different parts of you can be doing different kinds of things. If you're an animal, then one thing you have to do is decide if you're going to go left or you're going to go right. There's sort of, there's a single decision you have to make, and they can't.
Apex predators like Anomalocaris didn't merely react, it predicted. Reflex became short-range forecasting. Energy flow optimization evolved into information flow optimization. Brains began to compress time, minimizing surprise and learning from experience. The consciousness triad fully formed. By the end Permian, chaos peaked again, and survival favored organisms that could internally model disruptions before environmental flow paths collapsed. After repeated extinction pulses, Earth stabilized, but chaos didn't vanish, it became temporal. Day-night cycles, seasons, migrations, brains stored patterns as memory, turning chaos into expectation. The forebrain expanded to manage time itself. Scarcity plus danger leads to compression. Standardized sensing, regulate signals, and reduce error in outcome tasks. Now optimize flow through time, setting the stage for intent. Move towards food without becoming it. The Earth's high chaos continued with multiple extinction events, creating severe shortages and impacting survival strategies. Predation also forced group living, and social chaos was born. Primates groomed, then cooperate, requiring the ability to predict, share, and persist. Neural constructal design, the consciousness triad was nearing completion, predicting social cues, sharing through signals, persisting in group goals. Intent now extended beyond the body through tools, cooperation, and shared memory. Milankovitch chaos forced shared prediction. Hold on, if you get nauseous from this slide. There you go. One brain wasn't enough. Fire stabilized food, tool extended intent, knowledge became flow, brain to brain beyond genes. Design migrated outward, the self emerged, expressing the triad in art, tools, and culture. Fire and proto-language stabilized external resources, and for the first time, information could flow between brains as reliably as blood flows to a heart. This closed loop. Experience became shareable, intent became cumulative. This gives us a testable definition. Consciousness isn't magic. It's a constructal solution to a chaotic planet. At its core, CP-SCH, Constructal law predicts hierarchical scaling, and we scaled predation. Agriculture, cities, industry, made us the planet's most efficient apex predator in history. Rerouting planetary metabolism. Constructal recursion in action. Our protocell legacy is still visible. We consume 1.5 to 3 trillion animals every year, including last night's dinner. About 10 to 12 land animals and 200 to 300 fishes and shellfish per person. That would make the dinosaurs blush. The consciousness triad, prediction, sharing, and persistence, once local, now global, amplified by technology, but that amplification may create a new form of chaos. Artificial general intelligence sits at a fork, stabilize chaos or amplify it, but all this flow is thermodynamically expensive. Inefficiency is the price of access. Every hierarchical level opens flow, but leaks energy. This result is massive biological waste and energy dissipation, which raises the final question. From Theia's impact to consciousness, one law, constructal flow under chaos. I stand here, a living tube, shaped by predation, conveying this idea through a bilateral face. But this also highlights just how unique and how special humanity is. The triad scaled to social systems, shared percepts like color vision, goal persistence, and error reduction. We are emotional, expressive. We make art, compose, and create the greatest persistence flow in the universe, which is a goal state across generations. Love. Those are my children's in front of Starry Night. But maybe we're looking for the wrong biosignatures. Constructal law, flow systems evolved to provide easier access on high chaos worlds. Resource flow is turbulent. The triad, prediction, sharing, and persistence, is the constructal pattern. It compresses external chaos into a stable self-model. Fitness is geometric. High variance kills gatherers. The triad reduces experience variance. Mind qualia hypothesis, consciousness is the system's self-measurement of flow resistance, the internal reflection of constructal optimization. Not a solution to the heart problem, but a falsifiable physical variable. Block the coherent flow, does the self-model vanish? 5 tests will tell us, and these tests are not speculative. Every paradigm already exists, unifying them through one measurable constructal variable, coherence under variance, a physically grounded ladder from flow to self. At its core, CP-SCH extends constructal law across scales. The chaotic planet hypothesis says that Earth's unusual high chaos index born from the Theia impact forced life to become an active flow optimizer. That's predation, biology's first constructal solution to chaos. The signal constraint hypothesis says that consciousness is the same physics in a new substrate. Information flow optimized through the triad of prediction, sharing, and persistence. Together, they form a single constructal ladder: planet, life, and mind. The key test is simple: block the flow and consciousness traits disappear even though life continues. That's the closure. Consciousness is what constructal law looks like from the inside. Chaos brought us here. The triad keeps us going. The constructal law is the answer. Thank you for your time, attention, and consideration. I deeply appreciate it. No questions. No questions. No questions. Questions. Oh my goodness. Here we go.
Yes, you say that the
Yep.
theory that you put up there is falsifiable.
Yep.
What has prevented you from falsifying it?
I am a guy in radio. I'm not a scientist. I emailed Adrian with an idea, and he said, "You need to publish." And I was just curious because I read Physics of Life, and I emailed him in 2017. I cherished the response. But if you really want to know, Dr. Miller, hold on, if you want to talk about AI or search for other worlds, I have formulas for the engineers. Here we go. So 5 falsifiable tests that are already in motion. They're just not looking in that direction, right? And so the analogy would be, how many people in the room have experienced sleepwalking? As a child, maybe you have. Or what sleepwalking essentially is that you've eliminated the self, and you're still enabling survival behaviors. You're walking, you're moving your arms. There's murders that occur, and people use the excuse, I was sleepwalking. It's a disassociation from self. So that's an easy test, but I mean, there's a real life test going on right now with AI, which is that 2 of the 3 of my triad are actually occurring right now in safety tests. They're missing one piece to it. And so it's they talk about artificial general intelligence, but they got to complete this 3rd piece to it, and then bango, we have it.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm wondering if you could define chaos.
Certainly. Awesome. Thank you for asking that. So, I have to go all the way back to the. So essentially, if you forget my slides, if you go back to the scaling of planets, right? So there's 70 known habitable planets. So it's a scaling law. We could say that if we take the same criteria, environmental variance, tectonics, tides, obliquity, Milankovitch cycles, all the things that dictate how we evolve, the chaos of our own environment. Well, I'm just saying that through Earth's history, it has incredible variance. So I'm capturing that as a chaos index, which includes those 5 or 6 factors. So it's just a way to quantify the difference between all the known habitable planets. The question was asked earlier, which was, if you were to, I think to Dr. Miller, which was, if evolution was to run its course again on a different planet, would we look the same? And what I'm saying is, well, the first thing we should look at is the planet's formation history and its variance of its environment, right? Nutrients. What is the flow optimization strategy of that planet to be able to move to acquire better resources? For better or for worse, why I'm talking to you with a jaw and teeth is because the flow optimization for energy on this planet was eating. But we see through corals, and I think Suzanne spoke about mutualism, there are niches on this planet where mutualism absolutely exists. And so then you have to take that scaling as well and say, well, if it's a stable planet and there's biological life on that planet that has an energy source, it also could create cooperation or mutualism or symbiosis or whatever it is. All the way, and if you can envision this in a scaling, you could go from the most hostile planet, which is nothing, all the way up to a Gaian mind. A planet potentially that's a global network. And I make the reference of our technology. If you look at what we're doing with our technology, my appendage, I freaked out this morning that I didn't have my phone, right? That's my brain extension. And so what we're trying to do is connect with each other through networks and computers, and our technology also is we're seeking other worlds, right? We're trying to connect to other places through technology. So, sorry, I don't mean to get too philosophical. Am I done?
No.
Oh.
Interesting. We can have time for another question. Yes, please.
Yeah. Your point about chaos, actually I wrote it down as you were speaking. I would offer a contribution to making your point more clear. The word chaos is used by many people for randomness. The word chaos is actually Greek. It means vacuum, nothing in it, nothing, empty space. That's halos means empty space. So when you speak about chaos, you or others, you run into people who are familiar with this word, and they don't get what you're saying. A much better word for external variability is freedom.
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 Yeah. Well, the freedom has a connotation of like positive.
No, it's physics. Without it, there's no change. This variability to vary something, that thing has to have degrees of freedom, meaning ability to twist, to move, to stretch and compress. So anyway, so that's one point. The other thing, I liked your vectorial flow of your slides, leading to how life formed on Earth. You had Stephen Wolfram speaking about the Cambrian explosion. Well, he did not mention why that thing exploded. It exploded because during the evolution that led to that explosion, which was 560 million years ago, at that point, at that time, the organ for vision appeared. And that was the click equivalent to the invention of radar during World War II. And so it is for that reason, as you enumerated, the animal entity was able to assess the difference between right and left, and safe and not safe, and of course, passing of time.
And hearing,
all of
and
that.
smell. Yeah.
Those are probably older.
No, it's same.
For sure, the smell, meaning chemical.
Well, you can smell a predator coming in the water. Apparently, I wasn't there. I didn't smell it.
Well, it all began with much smaller things, and that's where the chemical gradient is key to perception. Anyway, all these things come together, but in the process of constructing a narrative, it's important to keep in mind that some people are familiar with the bits and pieces of your terminology.
Wonderful.
But I'd love to talk to you after this.
Thank you so much. I thank you for your indulgence. I really appreciate your time and the questions. Oh, yes.
Well, thank you for offering that you want the theory falsified. So I'll engage if you let me.
Yeah.
You seem to suggest that togetherness in multiplying brains' power to jointly is human. And of course, that isn't true.
No, I don't anthropomorphize it. I'm saying that.
I just to make sure,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Yeah.
herd or birds,
No,
all of them
of it,
defending mutually together against one predator are
Yeah,
clear
no.
examples of the opposite. So it was my confusion. I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's compressed in 15 minutes of,
Gotcha. No, so just to
4.5
clarify.
million. Yeah.
But if you take Attenborough's perspective, he says that grasses eventually have tricked us all. Okay, the whole point, we're not the apex, grass is.
Well, I just say we're the apex predator.
I know. But
Right.
there are those who say that in fact all of us humans are just there to actually make sure that cats.
That's true. Joe Shabak says that.
I
Yeah.
wonder,
Yeah. Well, so-
I mean, I love the theory. I'm throwing arrows at it.
No, you're
That
not.
could
You're
be
supporting it.
humorous, but there's a point. Why do we need to be
So
the
you're-
top? Maybe we're not.
You're right in that. Why do we have color vision? Does anyone know why we have color vision? It's because of fruit. So fruit, we didn't, evolving back when we were primates or that transitional species before primates, we didn't have color vision. And then it evolved as an adaptation to know which fruit to eat so that we could poop out the seeds, right? So who's in charge? And that's why we have a full spectrum of color vision. It's thanks to monkeys eating fruit or our ancestors eating fruit.
Thank you very much. Let's thank our speaker.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Our next speaker is Yun Bijan.